Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our Keys to Being a Highly Valuable Woman webinar. I'm Niyc Pidgeon, positive psychologist, international success coach, and young entrepreneur of the year. And I'm really thrilled that today I'm joined by our guest expert, Camille Thurnherr, who is a love and success coach, and she is joining me to share her secrets about what it takes to be a high value woman and how we can make the most of our relationships in our life, how we can thrive within our relationships, and how we can ignite Mr. Right. So Camille, welcome.
Thank you so much for having on this interview. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to be chatting with you. So first of all, Camille, you have a business called Ignite Mr. Right. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and about this business, first of all?
Absolutely. So I help single-driven women in how to attract an amazing quality partner so they can really have that passionate, romantic, and committed relationship they deserve. So one thing I always say is I'm not a matchmaker. I don't provide the fish, but I teach women how to fish and how to really attract that amazing partner so they can have the love life they truly deserve. And I'm extremely passionate to help women who are women who are really driven, women who are doing great things in the world, women who are very driven to make a difference, so they can have the cake and eat it too. Because sometimes as women, there is a belief around, oh, well, maybe I can just choose to be super successful and have a thriving career, or I can choose to have that lovely, committed relationship. But of course, we can have both. So it's about daring to have it all.
Fantastic. That's music to my ears. As a female entrepreneur that is so used to working hard and really giving quite a lot to my mission and to my vision, sometimes it's quite hard to find the space where you would see a man fit into that vision. So what would you say for somebody like me, or for the other female entrepreneurs that are watching that do find themselves really busy? Do you think it's important to have that space to welcome somebody else in?
Yes, great question. So I do believe it is important to make the space, because as busy driven women, we're often very much in, and we'll talk a little bit more about masculine and feminine energy. We're often very much in our masculine, which is absolutely great. It's about making things happen, and focusing on our mission, getting stuff done. But the feminine is more around, allowing space, and it's more around love and romance and relationships. So it is important to actually make space for a relationship goal. I definitely believe that.
Absolutely. It's interesting insight. And I know we're going to have a fantastic conversation today around this area of positive relationships. Obviously, February is the month of love. February is all about relationships and about what we can give and receive in terms of connection, networks, partners. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be having this conversation with you. Within my Now Is Your Chance group this week, we are actually focusing on self-belief, and we're looking at how relationships can enhance your self-belief, how those relationships within your life can really contribute to you feeling better in yourself as well. So I have a big mission that I'm running through my Facebook group and as part of this challenge. What would you say your big mission with Ignite Mr. Right is?
So my big vision and mission is to help thousands and thousands of women in how to attract a suitable partner so they can really have both success and love. So I'm really committed to adding as much value as possible over the next 20-30 years to women just like you, and to share practical tools, to be a role model for both success and passion and love, because I do believe that they're all connected. So it's my massive mission to help thousands of women around the globe so they can have both the success they deserve, the thriving businesses, as well as the romantic relationships. Because of course, no matter how successful we are, we want to have that love. We want to have romance and passion in our lives, and we can have it all. So that is my big mission for Ignite Mr. Right.
Amazing. I'm so excited to see you fulfill that mission. I know that there's so many ladies out there and so many ladies that are tuning in or watching the replay that you are going to be solving a huge problem for. So it's amazing. I love the work that you're doing within the world. So positive relationships it's a key area of positive psychology. We talk in PosPsych about 5 key criteria that you need to have to live a flourishing life or to have a flourishing and thriving business. So we talk about the need for positive emotions. We talk about the need for engagement in your life, so to be sufficiently challenged by what you do. We talk about needing meaning and purpose. We also talk about needing accomplishment. And the 5th key, the missing piece of this puzzle, is positive relationships. So how important do you think that relationships are for people?
Great question. So my belief is that our quality of our lives is largely determined by the quality of our relationships. So this isn't just about intimate relationships. It's about friendships. It's about relationship with self as well, which I know you're very passionate about. So relationships are a massive part of our lives, and there have been studies done where when people are close to leaving the planet, like dying, they often said that they really valued their relationships more than anything else, and the regrets were often about not spending more quality time with loved ones. So we really need to remember how important relationships really are, and it's easy to forget sometimes. Even myself with female friends, for example, sometimes I do neglect friendships because I am on a mission. I'm really driven. So it is sometimes a challenge to give it enough time and energy.
So what would you recommend then in terms of balance? So you mentioned quality time. How would you define quality time, and how would you recommend that the ladies watching could create more of that within their lives?
So in regards to balance, when we had a chat earlier, and I'm definitely not an expert with balance, and I think most entrepreneurs are a little bit mad, and we're not the most balanced people. So I wouldn't say I'm a great role model for that. But what I have learned, and I'm learning, continuously, is it's really about being totally present. So even in my relationship now, like I'm choosing most of the time not to take my laptop home. So when I'm spending time with him, I'm totally present, I'm totally there. And the same with girlfriends. So when I catch up with female friends, I actually do my best to turn my phone off completely and totally be present, because otherwise it's really hard. We're constantly distracted. So it's really about being totally present with who is, even now, like I'm present with you and totally just focusing on this conversation only. So presence is really important. Then also, of course, making that time, maybe having a night a week where, for the single women listening, it's about, dating, being open to going on a date, or for women in relationships, then really just having that night with the partner. So really prioritizing it. I think it's the only way.
Absolutely. So I always coach self-care. So where do you think the balance, or where do you think self-care actually has a role within a relationship? Because they might be seen as two contrasting ideas, but where would you see those fit together?
I think it's self-care is actually, it's the most important thing above all. So even now, I'm in a really happy relationship. If I don't connect with myself every day, if I don't give myself what I really need, the relationship's not going to be that fulfilling. So self-care is is absolutely key. I mean, one book I recommend anyone to read is The Love Languages by Gary Chapman, which is it's about what we need in order to feel loved as women. And even when we're single, we can give ourselves certain things that make us feel loved. And I think and even now in a relationship, I'm still doing those things for myself. Like I'm still, I'm buying myself little gifts sometimes, because gifts is one of my main love languages, to make myself feel really good. So I'm not totally dependent. So self-care is absolutely key. So important.
It's funny because that book has come up twice within one day.
Really?
My coach actually shared that book on Facebook today. So I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Absolutely. Definitely. On your recommendation. What else do you do for your self-care? So for my self-care, I love to have a weekly massage. And I did a Periscope yesterday sharing some of the other things that I love. So my crystals that you can see behind me, candles, things like that. What other things do you really enjoy to help you fill you up with that goodness?
I love, at the moment, I sort of go through stages, but at the moment, yin yoga. So the really passive, very feminine type of yoga. I do 2 classes a week, and it's just, for me, that's just gold. I do tend to have a weekly massage as well. Another thing is I go for a really nice walk in the morning and listen to positive affirmations to sort of get myself into the zone. But again, I do that by myself. It's just something it's a gift I give myself daily, and I make it a non-negotiable. But yeah, yin yoga is one of my favorites at the moment, because you're sort of forced to just be present with yourself. It's such and really slowing down. Absolutely love it.
I did that once down in Sydney. It was a fantastic class. It's really restorative. So for those of you that haven't done yin yoga, it's really slow practice. It is really kind. It's really gentle and really feminine. And with you mentioning feminine and masculine, you've touched on it slightly, but can you just explain a little bit more to me and also to all of the ladies watching what you mean by masculine and feminine, what the differences are?
Great question. And I mean, this is totally my take. There's so many different definitions, but my take on it is masculine energy is very much about goals. It's about outcome. It's about doing. It's about focus. And we want to be in touch with our masculine. Otherwise we wouldn't be running a business. So it's a really important energy to embrace. It's very much about outcome, focus. Let's get it done. It's very much about achievement, where feminine energy is more about, it's less about doing, it's more about being. So the yin yoga class would be actually a perfect example. It's totally about just being. There's nothing that needs to be pushed. So it's very much about being in the flow. It's about playing. So thinking of, think of just like little kids playing on the beach. Sort of, it's just about having fun, being in the flow, being in the moment. It's about connection as well. So, even this conversation now, sure, it's got a focus, and it's but we're not like achieving a specific goal. It's very much about discovery. We're connecting. We're just sort of going with the flow a little bit. So it's much more of a feminine energy. Does that clarify it?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting insight, because I think a lot of people would distinguish masculine and feminine as being, okay, so masculine's associated with blue, feminine's associated with pink, and men do things like cars, and girls are into flowers. But it's not really that at all. When we're speaking about energy and energy transfer and relationships, it's something quite different. So what would you say is there a relationship that would work better with a stronger masculine energy, or should there always be a balance, or should the woman always bring the feminine, or do we all have masculine and feminine within us?
Such a great question. So in a nutshell, the relationships that work best it's about polarity. So one person will be more the masculine, one person will be more the feminine, but it can switch as well. So if 2 people are too similar, generally speaking, if there's not enough chemistry there's not enough of that intensity that we really want, However, like sometimes, you know, I'm just thinking now in my relationship, in some ways I'm actually stronger in my masculine. Like I'm much more organized than my partner. Like we're currently getting ready to get married in a few weeks. So I'm much more organized. I'm much more, I love planning. So he's pretty hopeless with that. But he's much, you know, he's in so many other ways, he's a lot more masculine, where he's much more, you know, clear on what needs to be done in a more practical way with our lives, you know, with our finances, for example. So we balance each other out. But as far as chemistry goes and romance, there needs to be a polarity. And for us, you know, I'm assuming you agree, like we're strong, we are alpha females, like we are very comfortable in our masculine. So the challenge is when we are in a relationship to not stay in that masculine all the time, because otherwise the guy just doesn't feel like he can really offer anything. You know, he'll be like, oh my God, you don't need it. You don't need me. You're totally capable of doing everything by yourself. So it's then about sometimes just allowing the guy to step up and, you know, to be a bit more in the flow and to trust and just to be a bit more in that. So coming home from a day in business to make that conscious decision of, okay, I'm stepping into my feminine now. I'm just gonna like allow to just be in my feminine, and that can be challenging.
So what would you do? What would be an example of a way that you could get into your feminine?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on what sort of person you are. But for me personally, like I need to get into my body. So anything, you know, having a bit of a dance or, you know, yin yoga, for example, perfect, because it gets you out of your head. After a yin yoga class, I'll be coming home and I'm all like, you know, where if I come home straight from work or from my office and I haven't sort of done anything to shift my energy, I'm very much like, all right, what did you get done today? What's happening? You know, it's like go, go, go. So anything that shifts the energy more into the body. So again, that's another thing, maybe a good point. And the feminine is more about embodiment, where the masculine is very much about, it's more thought and, you know, it's more of a head energy, where the more we can be in our bodies, the more that femininity really flows. Another great thing would be creativity, you know, singing, painting, anything that is not task orientated. So anything that is fun and just, you know, yeah, hanging out with women, of course, you know, gets us into our feminine, because then we're all just like, in our girly energy. So being surrounded by a lot of women can help.
Fantastic. So what I'm hearing is, if you need to create the feminine energy, say if you come home from work or you come home from a day, doing something to create that differentiation and almost create a boundary between this is masculine time and this is feminine time, and I'm going to maybe play a song or do some yoga in between to switch that energy. Is that what you would recommend? Something to transition?
Totally. So it's a really conscious decision. And, you know, even like having a shower, and putting a different sort of outfit on, just to really step into that new, you know, maybe if you usually have your hair down, you know, putting it up, or vice versa, putting something new on, like putting moisture, you know, a nice luxurious sort of body lotion on, playing a song. Music can really change, you know, the settings. So anything like that, absolutely.
And I guess as well, that comes back to the self-care, because all the things that you've just mentioned, the moisturizer, the taking the time out for yourself, that is your self-care. So I guess the self-care, would you say that resides in the feminine, and the hard work, go is in the masculine?
Absolutely. Yeah. Self-care is very much, it's very feminine, because men generally, they don't need as much of that. they actually don't need as much. Like if they're too, for men, is if they do too much of that sort of, it's nearly like they drown too much, like they lose their edge, and it doesn't make them feel great. So for us, like we really need to, it nurtures us from the inside out. So it's such an enjoyable thing. It's so important.
It certainly is. So that's really valuable information. And we've talked about how in a relationship we could get more in touch with our feminine. What about if you're not in a relationship yet? What do you do as a single woman if you are an alpha? So if you are a strong entrepreneur or a strong woman in your own right, what would you recommend that you do?
I think, again, anything to do with fun. So dance classes, like salsa classes, there's so many things you can do as a single woman. Anything to do with, another thing with the feminine is also the senses. So feminine, it's all about like, touch, smell. It's about sensuality. So I guess it's things that really put you in touch with that playfulness. I definitely want to talk about the different aspects of femininity, because not all aspects of femininity are like really, really soft. There's also more fiery aspects. So I think that would be a good one to touch on. So it depends which aspect needs to come out more. But for most alpha females who are very, very like just very driven, it's the softer aspect of femininity that needs to come out. So I call her Miss Innocence, which is all about vulnerability and receptivity. So it is about then connecting with, with the emotions more, listening to music that remind you of certain things, like again, the yin yoga keeps on coming up, because it's such a good example of the just going inwards, meditating, being still, not doing anything is a really good thing as well, because it just really, it's about going inward sometimes, because we just, so as alpha females, we're always just wanting to do stuff and wanting to share and give, and so going inwards is really important.
Okay, so you mentioned that there's a few different types of femininity, and you've just told us about one of them. What are the other types?
Yes, I want to go quickly through them, because they relate to both being the high value woman. So it relates to attracting an amazing partner, because a quality man wants to feel all of those aspects in us, but it also translates into success and receiving and making money. So I'll sort of go through them a little bit. So the first one is, I call her the seductress. So the seductress is a woman who's really, she knows who she is. It's about sexual confidence. It's about self-worth. Like, she doesn't need to prove herself. So in business, especially a lot of your women, in business and entrepreneurs. So in business, it means that, a woman who's in touch with that, she doesn't need to sell herself. She knows her worth. She knows what she has to offer is unique. So as a woman, as a single woman, it's the same thing. It's about really owning that inner, that feminine, like, your expression of the seductress is different to mine. There's no competition. So we all have that uniqueness. So that's really about owning your sexual confidence, self-worth. There's nothing that needs to be proven. And men need to, of course, feel that, because they can see that, wow, she really loves who she is. Wow, there's something about her, like, so they are attracted to that. And also the seductress is very important in regards to making money and sales, because again, a woman who's really like knows who she is and what she stands for, she's totally comfortable in doing business and asking for money. And it's there's just a really effortlessness there. So does that sort of make sense?
That makes total sense. So this is the centeredness, it's the centered power, but that's in the feminine. Yeah, that's great. So that's the seductress. And who else do we have?
So the next one is the nurturer. So the seductress is more about the sexual energy. The nurturer is more about the heart. So the nurturer is very much about the, mother archetype. So she's all about generosity, sharing. She's very authentic. There's a warmth about her. So again, in businesses, it's important. Of course, it's important to share value. You're sharing value right now by sharing this interview. It's about giving, being generous, being authentic. She gives freely. She knows there's an abundance of love. So from a relationship perspective, it's important because men need to feel that warmth. They need to feel that there is a groundedness about a potential partner, that her heart is open. She's not like, I can't trust you, stay away. So that is the nurturer. So it's very much about being grounded, being generous, being authentic. Again, she's just being herself. She hasn't got a hidden agenda. So it's very much about authenticity as well. So the third one is, and it seems like a bit of a paradox, but she's really, really important too. So I call her the bitch archetype. So that's probably a slightly more fiery aspect. So the bitch stands for strong boundaries, high standards. She's really clear on what she says no to and what she says yes to. So, we can be in our nurturer and we can own our worth, but unless we're really clear on our boundaries and who we let into our life or who we don't, then we still often don't get what we want. And it translates into business because we need to be really clear on, who's our ideal client, what do we say no to, what opportunities do we say yes to. And I don't know about you, but when I first got into business, it was just like, yeah, I'll say yes to anything that comes my way. But now I'm really clear on what I say yes to and no to, and that just creates women who really own this, they get a lot of respect, and that men respect them, and they're like, wow, I won't be able to mess with her. And it's about value, it's about owning your worth. And in business, it's just really clear about, again, what we owning what we stand for, and saying no to the wrong kind of opportunities, the wrong kind of clients, and saying yes to the right ones. So what resonates so far? What are your...
Well, I guess especially this week with us running the self-belief challenge, this bitch archetype is definitely something that it's just jumped out at me when you've said that, because I guess this archetype or this type of feminine energy would be stronger and would come forwards more as confidence and belief grows. So yes. Would you notice that maybe if somebody isn't as confident, or they don't have that power and self-belief in themselves and they're still working on it, would you say that maybe the nurturer archetype would be more present for that type of person?
Yes, so good. It's a really good point. So with all of those aspects, they have like a shadow aspect. So for example, the nurturer, if she's overly in that, if it's too much, then women tend to give too much. They just give the gifts away too much. They don't respect their boundaries enough. So it is about balancing all of them. Absolutely.
Okay. And how would you identify, I guess through your work, would you help a woman to identify which she has more of and which is maybe out of balance, and how that's affecting her?
Yeah, so I've got there's a bit of a process to that, and I with the listeners, I do there is a webinar that I'll be sharing where I go more into how do you really know, and which one is which one is sort of prominent. So for example, with the nurturer, if women who are too much in the nurturer, they end up feeling quite exhausted, and they just give so much but they don't get back, and they often also money doesn't necessarily flow then, because it's nearly like overgiving but not receiving. Where the seductress, for example, she's all about, she believes she's worthy to receive without doing anything. So she's the sort of like, she's like the love goddess. She's like, I'm worthy to get love, I'm worried she doesn't feel like she needs to give. So there's that balance, and then women who have too much of the seductress and not enough of the nurturer, then they lack that warmth, which we also need. So there is a lot to it.
Yeah, I guess to balance, would you recommend having a balance of all four, or do you think at different times different elements come forwards?
Yeah, great question. I think at different times different elements need to come forward. So for example, with attracting a suitable partner, for example, the vulnerability, which I'll touch on in a minute, I sort of touched on her, that's very much about vulnerability and receiving. That's not going to come forward straight away. The bitch needs to actually come in first to see, like, does he deserve to see my vulnerability or not? So, we're not just going to be vulnerable and caring and nurturing to anyone. So there is definitely a time and place for all the different aspects. And also, every woman will have a preference of what she feels most comfortable with, and that's totally perfect, because we're all unique. So, for example, my partner Alex, he loves strong women. He loves the bitch in me. Like he doesn't like really girly, super, quietly spoken women. He loves really strong, confident women, and so you would have your preference of the different aspect. You would have one that you're really super comfortable with, and that's perfect. It's just about being able to step into all of them when they're needed. That's the key.
Okay, thank you. So what would you recommend for anybody that's watching out there that wants to attract a partner? Which of these elements would you suggest they try to embody and go out there and be, first of all?
I think, it really starts with the seductress, because the seductress is all about, she's probably my favorite in a way, because she just knows she's worthy, and she feels beautiful inside and out, no matter what. So that would be the first one. Like if you're not, if a woman's not totally comfortable in her body, and she's not comfortable with being a bit flirtatious, then that is the first one I would really encourage to embrace. So with the seductress, a great way to step into her is definitely, dancing, anything that moves the hips. So salsa, belly dancing, even burlesque classes. Like if that's a really sort of big stretch, like that would be a great thing to step into. And also, maybe changing, seeing a stylist, changing around with what you wear a little bit. So the seductress is very much about beauty. She loves looking beautiful. Again, it's about the senses, getting massages, it's about beauty, pleasure, and that sexual confidence. So that would be definitely the one to embrace first, because she is about love and romance, where the nurturer is more about unconditional love. It's about just that genuine connection, which is important in relationships. But of course, to attract an amazing partner, it's about chemistry. It's about that. It's about romance.
Sounds like a lot of our ladies are going to be having a lot of fun out there with all of this advice.
Totally. And Valentine's Day coming up. So I have this whole week in my program. It's called the Romance Yourself Week, where it's all about, the self-nurturing, but with that romantic flavor, where it's all about just giving all those things, romancing yourself. So it's a really fun concept.
Fantastic. It sounds so much fun. So much fun. So I know you mentioned your partner and soon-to-be husband, Alex. So congratulations, first of all, on your pending wedding. That is the best news. Such a happy time. How do you create a boundary between you as a love and success mentor and your personal relationship? Do you feel like you're applying your tools on yourself and your fiance all of the time?
Or, I mean, definitely. I think, you know, with, as we talked about earlier, with the whole the concept of balance is just so hard. So, and the great thing is that my standards of a relationship are really high. So, you know, because I've chosen to be a role model for amazing women out there, I need to keep on making sure that my standards in my relationship are really high. So it's an ongoing, you know, I often sort of check in like, ooh, you know, does the vulnerability need to come out a little bit more? That's probably my biggest, that was my challenging one, the showing vulnerability. And, you know, that's still, it's an ongoing journey. Like that aspect I don't naturally and most comfortably embrace, but I now know how to tap into it, and it's so important to deepen the relationship. So, you know, for example, we're now preparing for the wedding ceremony, like I'm gonna have to tune into that, really, that softer, more emotional part of me, so I can be totally present, because I'm not just going to be this, you know, extroverted fun, you know, like in that moment it's about connecting to the deeper emotions. And I know already that could, you know, it's like, ooh, that's scary, you know. So it's an ongoing journey.
It's interesting, and I'm sure that's very, very useful information for all of the ladies that are watching, that are already in relationships, for them to start to be a little bit more mindful about which of these elements they maybe have that are stronger than others, and what they could exhibit more in order to improve their relationship. What type of lady would come to work with you, Camille? Is it do you get someone that's in a relationship and wants to make it better? Or do you get single ladies that want to find that man?
Great question. So my usual client is a woman, you know, from her late 20s to her 30s, who really wants to attract a suitable partner. A lot of my clients have been single for a very long time. They've just really focused more on other things. They usually, you know, really. There's a lot of great stuff happening already. They're quite clear on who they are, but often the vulnerability is a bit of a challenge, and sometimes also the bitch archetype, like where the boundaries aren't clear enough. But yeah, I help mainly women who've been single for quite a while, but they're really wanting to attract an amazing partner and build a life together. So it's not about just attracting any kind of guy. It's attracting a really amazing guy, the sort of guy that you would be really proud to introduce to your best friends. You know, the sort of man that really ticks all of the boxes. Because otherwise, what's the point? You know, we all have great lives already. Why settle with anyone who's average? So there's absolutely no point.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to share your links and how we get in touch with you at the end of the interview today. But I think there's going to be a lot of ladies out there that are now saying, where is this woman's number? We really need to get in touch with you and work with you. Because I know for a lot of ladies that I speak with, and a lot of entrepreneurs that I coach and work with, they have similar struggles of, they're maybe not in their teens anymore, they're not in their early 20s anymore, and they're not going out as much. Their social lives are very different. And if you don't have a partner and have children and all of your friends do, then it's a little bit of a changed dynamic. You don't necessarily hang out in the same places that you used to. You might prefer to stay in with a movie or prefer to work on your business, just because that's what you love and that's what you enjoy, and you don't necessarily have that circle to go out there with anymore that are doing the same things. So what would you give as a key piece of advice for the alpha female that is out there, that is immersed in her work, immersed in a routine, and maybe doesn't have that social space to go out and find Mr. Right? What would you suggest that she does?
Great question. So one thing I would recommend is to really think about, like, where would that sort of guy actually hang out, and you know, what is something that you're passionate about that maybe isn't about your career. So maybe you know it's about like exploring new hobbies that, you know, like let's say photography or, you know, a certain sport that's something you'd actually want to do anyway, but that also a potential partner could actually be. The other thing is a lot of my clients end up meeting men in very unexpected ways. So for example, myself, I met Alex at my local cafe. So a lot of it is really about being open and being open to be approached, like really starting to just notice more men around you, being open that this person could actually turn up everywhere, and slowing down a little bit, because most women don't even notice men around them, especially when they're on a mission and they're doing their thing. So it's just about sometimes slowing down a little bit, making more eye contact, smiling a little bit, and being open to being approached, because the men are out there. And that's the thing, so many women often say to me, like, there are not enough great men out there. They actually are, but at the moment you're probably not noticing them. You know, you're just like in your own world. So it's really about just, you know, having a look around, being very open. Another thing I would recommend is, rather than sort of creating a list of like the ideal person, to actually write down the things that you really look forward to experiencing with your future partner. So I have this one, a love action that is part of the course I run, where the women write down 3 statements every night before they go to bed, like communicating with their future partner. Like, it sounds a bit out there, but just like, you know, starting that conversation. For example, saying that I really look forward to feeling that passion with you. I really look forward to travel the world with you. I really look forward to be part of a team again with you. So really connecting to what you actually want to experience with that future partner. And that connects more to the emotion, and it can be fun. It can be a creative process.
And that's really important as well. So when I teach manifestation, or when we look into how manifestation works, people would start and would maybe say, okay, so I have a goal that I would like to achieve, and I have something, let's say it's something material, let's say it's a particular house. So I want my dream house. So they focus so much on the house that they're so attached to that object. Whereas what we see is, in manifestation, we need to attach to the emotion, exactly as you've said, and attach to the feeling and how you will feel when you've achieved that. So when you have your dream house or your dream partner, what are the 3 key emotions that you will experience? So is it that you're going to feel all warm and fuzzy inside? Is it that you're going to feel that huge love connection? Is it that you're going to feel joyful every day? And really connect into what those emotions are in order for you to be able to receive them, rather than saying, I want a tall, dark and handsome gentleman that's 6'4", that goes to the gym. You want to connect in with how they make you feel instead.
Absolutely.
And then sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, because that tall, dark and handsome guy, he might have nothing in common with you. He might be a workaholic. He might not make you happy. So it's not about those things, really.
And then what's your opinion on you then being the person that matches that vibration, you being the person that matches those emotions? Can you tell us a little bit about what you think about that?
It's a great question. So for me, it's all about connected to those 4 archetypes. So it's all about those, because a quality man will, like that a strong masculine man, he wants a woman who has got an open heart. He wants a woman who's really clear on her boundaries. He wants a woman who can receive and allow things to happen, and who's not always in control mode. He wants a woman who's comfortable in her body and she feels sensual. So it's all linked to those aspects. It's also another great addition to that is the love languages, which, you know, we mentioned the book with the love languages by Gary Chapman. So the more you can be clear on what your way is for you, what you need to feel in order to feel loved, the more you can give that to yourself, the more you will shine, the more you will glow, because you will fulfill your own love attraction, sort of love strategy. So that will be another addition. But definitely, it's like we need to be that woman who that amazing man would want. And so many of my women, often when I ask them, like, so what is he going to be drawn to, what is he looking for, they're sort of like, oh, I haven't thought of that. So we can, including myself, we tend to just focus on what we want, but yeah, we need to think about, well, what does this amazing man, what does he really want? He doesn't necessarily want to be with a woman who is exactly like him. He wants to feel that deeper emotional connection. He wants to sometimes feel that softness. Yeah.
So what would you advise? Let's say you've got an alpha female that's a real leader. Would you say that she needs to look for a guy that isn't an alpha, or is it that she can still have an alpha? She can still be with a leader, but she needs to step into the feminine role when she's with him.
Yeah, this is such a big question, and I've had so many arguments. So I do believe that it is possible for her to still be with an alpha. However, yeah, she will need to just step much more into the feminine. But I've done so many interviews now with really highly driven, successful women who are now in happy relationships. And many of them said they thought they wanted the alpha, but they are now with men who are, they're also driven, but they're more of a quiet achiever. They have a slightly different energy, and it seems to balance them out. And I know some women are like, no, I don't want that sort of guy, but I think it can work really, really well, because when you're thinking about it, like even with my relationship now, like I want someone to be my rock. Like I want someone who I can go home to, and that just, if Alex was even more alpha than me, and he, like, in a way where he's just like constantly out there chasing, traveling around the world, we would hardly ever see each other. So I do think there needs to be a bit of a balance, but yeah, definitely, I wouldn't say you have to be with this really passive sort of feminine guy, because that's not what that's not going to work. But there needs to be a balance of the different, for men, they have different aspects of masculinity too. So I would say most really driven alpha females, they do need a man who has also got a nurturing, that warmth to him that will balance her out.
So when she comes home from running her business, he can have the dinner on the table.
Totally. Someone who likes cooking. Yeah, it's a good example, actually, because men who like cooking, they're in touch with, they like that. They like giving. So you want someone who's generous in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because it opens up a whole conversation about, do we actually want what we think we want? Or is that just a vision that we have, and then when we find that what we get is what we want, or what we think we want, we don't actually want? It's really interesting.
And what you currently want, like for women listening, I would challenge you, what you think you want is not necessarily what's going to make you happy. So you might get that, but with that super, let's say the tall, dark, handsome, and I'm not saying you can't have a tall, dark, handsome man. Alex is 6'4", so you can definitely have the tall, dark, and handsome man. But as far as what's really going to make you happy might be different to your current list of a man. So that's what I would challenge the list and really connect to, what do you really want to feel? Do you really want to just feel like, that deep, meaningful connection? Do you really just want to feel part of the team? So what is really, really important?
Really good advice. So ladies, you can think about what is important for you, and what you need and what you desire from a relationship, and maybe do some writing around that, as Camille suggests. Really good advice. Thank you, Camille. So we are talking about self-belief this week in my Now Is Your Chance Facebook group. What tips have you got for the lady out there that's watching that maybe doesn't feel that confident in this area, maybe doesn't feel like she has the belief in herself to ignite Mr. Right? What tips for confidence would you suggest?
That's a really good question. I think the big thing is about really owning who you are. So it's really about authenticity and not trying to be someone you're not. And also like having role models. So for anything to do with success, like, you know, think of who is the woman who has the sort of relationship you really want. You know, how can you embrace more of what she has? Because we all have those qualities. It's really about just stepping into that. But I do believe that it's what can really, really help is the emotional connection. So rather than just sort of trying to figure out, oh, how can I attract him? Maybe I don't believe in it. You know, I do use the law of attraction a lot, where it's about connecting to the emotions, starting to imagine what it would feel like to be cuddling up in bed. And, you know, before you know it, I use a lot of visualizations in my programs. And the more you connect to that, you know, that world of imagination and really allowing yourself to go there, all of a sudden it starts to feel real. So I guess it's getting out of your head a little bit, more into that, you know, into that feminine world of imagination, allowing yourself to dream about it and imagine it. And that's it will start to feel a lot more real.
Brilliant advice. Thank you so much. So before we go into the quick fire question round, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the ladies that are watching today?
Let me think. I think another thing, one more thing I want to share is, I think it really helps to listen to success stories. And on my YouTube channel, I interview a lot of successful women, where they share how they ended up attracting an amazing partner, what challenges they had to overcome. So I do believe, and with my current clients, it seems to be very powerful, them actually listening to other success stories, where they will start to realize, oh my God, she also had that challenge. Ooh, that's how she overcame it. So listening to success stories is really, really powerful.
Because I think that would help with your self-belief as well, because it's getting away from that idea that there's something wrong with me, when really there's nothing wrong with you. A lot of other people may have experienced something similar, and you can learn and grow from that.
Totally. Actually, one more thing I want to say on that is the one thing that surprises me still and breaks my heart, because most of my clients are extremely successful, they're driven, they're often very attractive, very beautiful women, and most of them still have that thing of, maybe I don't deserve to get that, maybe I'm not worthy. So it's just good for everyone to realize we all have that within us. You know, it's a human thing. There's just often that thing underneath, like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. We all have it to some degree, but it doesn't have to stop. That doesn't have to stop us. So just really realize, everyone has their own insecurities. Men have their own stuff, you know, maybe they feel like, oh, well, I'm not tall enough, I'm not successful enough. Will she really like me? You know, we all have insecurities. So it's really just about remembering that we're human. We don't have to be perfect. We are lovable just the way we are. It's just really about stepping more into who we really are, and then sharing from that authentic space.
Yes, I hear you. Fully hear you. Thank you so much. Really, really good advice. Thank you, Camille. So into our quick fire round. So shortest, quickest answers that you can give me. What's the favorite thing about your work?
Doing what I love and not being told what to do.
Okay, what's the thing that you love to hate?
just techie sort of stuff, anything admin.
Okay. What's the hardest thing that you've had to do in your business?
Just to continuously and believing in myself, perseverance.
And what about the hardest thing in your relationship?
Being vulnerable, definitely the most challenging thing.
Great. What about, so you're from Melbourne. Where do you love to hang out in Melbourne?
Oh, I love where my office is in Albert Park. Some really great cafes, some nice wine bars, absolutely, and around Albert Park Lake as well. Love this area.
Gorgeous city. I love Melbourne. So what would be your favorite holiday destination?
At the moment, Tasmania, where I'm getting married. It's just beautiful. It's clean. It's just really crisp and yeah, beautiful place.
I'll have to put that on the list for somewhere to visit on my travels. I've never been there. What about your favorite movie?
Ooh, my favorite movie. It's a bit of a cliche, but Bridesmaids. It's like this romantic comedy, very inappropriate, very funny. Yeah, I've seen it twice and still love it.
It's absolutely hilarious. I love that movie. Who would you invite to dinner, dead or alive? Ideal guest.
Richard Branson. I think he's just cool. He's very. I mean, he's had such a rich life, amazing business. You know, of course, business expertise. He'd be a lot of fun. He's very flirty. Yeah, great choice, I think.
Ooh, igniting Mr. Right. What would be your favorite meal? What would be on the dinner table that night?
I love Vietnamese food and Thai food. Some really nice Thai curries and green curries, red curries, Thai food.
Fantastic. Definitely. I'm with you on that. And one word that describes how you are doing life right now.
The word that just popped into mind is relentless.
Yes, love it. Go, Camille.
Going all the way.
Relentless relationships. I love it. So tell me what's next for Camille. What's next for Ignite Mr. Right?
So this year is going to be massive. I'm going to write a book. I've got a concept for a TV show as well. And
amazing.
I'm planning to film about 200 YouTube videos, so a lot of content on YouTube.
Fantastic. So where can we check you out and where can all of the ladies watching check you out, Camille?
So best way is to go to ignitemisterright.com and do the love quiz, and then there's also you'll have access to the free webinar, which will go into the archetypes a lot more depth.
Fantastic. So ignitemisterright.com. And what about your final parting advice? What would that be for all the ladies watching?
So the final advice would be own your worth. Own your worth. Know you are unique. You're irresistible. You have so much power as a woman. You know, men need what we have. They're so drawn to us. So really own your power as a woman. Really own it.
Amazing advice. Amazing advice. Thank you so much for being here. It's been so much fun to share this space and for you to share your value as well. You are an amazing woman, Camille. I'm so grateful to have met you in Bali just a few months ago. And I'm going to be following your work. We'll also share your links below the video so that everybody can access that love quiz here in the month of February. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for everyone that is watching, and we will catch you next time. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.